with the Plaza team at Coldwell Banker Manalapan. I hope you were all doing really well today. I wanted to chat a bit briefly about appraisals and why they are an important part of the home buying and selling process, as we have a couple scheduled for this morning and later on this week. So first, what is a home appraisal? A home appraisal is an unbiased report on the worth of a house in the fair market. And this is performed by a trained, licensed individual. Appraisers are needed to ensure that the home buyer, the home seller, and the mortgage lender receive the accurate and true value of the real estate in question. In most residential real estate transactions, you are of course able to choose your lender and your real estate agent, but in this case you cannot choose your appraiser. Instead, the appraiser must be chosen by your lender to provide a level of independence from the buyer and the seller. So let's pretend that you found your dream home. Say the asking price is $300,000, an amount that you have already been pre-approved for by your bank. But is the home really worth that amount? So that, of course, is the question at the heart of the home appraisal. The worth or value of the property will determine how much a lender is willing to give you to buy that particular piece of real estate. And this all-important step in getting the financing that you need is the home appraisal. Oftentimes, this is a confusing part of the mortgage process, in which both buyer and seller must depend on the expert opinion of a total stranger. A real estate appraisal is simply that. It's the expert opinion of a certified state licensed professional who determines the value of a piece of real estate. So if your dream home, if your dream home is $300,000 and it's really only worth $200,000, then the home, of course, is overpriced. The appraiser will visit the property and compare it to recently sold homes to determine its value. The lender wants to know if the house is worth what the buyer has agreed to pay for it. If the home appraises at or above the agreed upon sales price, we're in the green lane, the loan will most likely go through. If the house appraises for less than the purchase price, the buyer's loan might not go through, and the difference can be put in by the buyer if they still want to go through with the purchase, or the buyer and seller could come to some kind of agreement about lowering the asking price. Or the buyer can actually back out and kibosh the whole thing. So the home appraisal also protects the bank from getting stuck with property that's worth less than what they've invested. And it protects you as the buyer from paying too much for a house that was simply, love at first sight. The home appraisal is a no-nonsense factor in the decision that is often an emotional one for the buyer. So the home appraisal is not the same thing as a home inspection. If you're buying a home, you'll want to hire an experienced home inspector to point out any potential problems that could turn into costly nightmares in the future. So property appraisers will likely make note of any obvious issues, but they won't test your heat and air, they won't check the chimney, or determine if your plumbing is up to code. So that's the job of the inspector. The home appraiser will make note of the agreed upon purchase price, and he will then review the recent comparable sales in the area to determine if the property is actually worth the amount that the buyer has agreed to pay. So, and these are also known as comps. I'm sure you've heard that term a lot. So these are the same comps real estate agents on both sides of the transaction use to determine the fair market value of a particular house. After the mortgage lender requests the home appraisal, the appraiser will visit the property in question to conduct a thorough assessment. He will examine both the interior and exterior of the house, and he uses the sales data to understand what the local real estate market is doing, how much the homes are selling for in the area, and then he applies that insight when visiting the subject property. And of course, adjusting the value up or down based on his or her findings. He may also visit some of the comp houses being used for the comparison to see how they stack up to the one being purchased. If the subject property has certain value-adding features that the comparable homes do not, he might adjust his appraisal upward in favor of the home being purchased. So again, this is similar to what a real estate agent does when trying to determine the asking price or the reasonable offer amount for a particular property. And all of this can be done in 1 to, I would say, 3 days, typically 1. Appraisers have their own way of doing things though, so that's why I said it ranges. The process can vary. They typically look at the following things though. The lot size of the property, view, curb appeal, value-adding features, upgrades or additions, quality of construction and overall condition of the property, the structural integrity, whether or not the property conforms to the neighborhood for the resale purposes, and anything else that might add or subtract value or make the home different from the comps in the area. So above all else, the appraiser wants to know what the house is worth in the current local real estate market. So then finally comes the appraisal report, where the appraiser assigns an actual value to the home. This is basically his educated guess about what the home is worth in the current market based on all that we just spoke about. So yeah, the appraisal can cost a few $100s, and the cost is usually paid by the buyer, since it's their lender that's requesting it. Sometimes the costs can be rolled into the buyer's closing costs, so that's another option. Sometimes it has to be paid on the spot upon completion of the home appraisal. It varies. So that's all I got for you today. I hope that clears up some misconceptions or questions that you may have had about the home appraisal process, as it can be a little confusing. Please comment below or message the Plaza team directly for any real estate questions that you may have. We are happy to help and get you moving. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.